This is the story of VoteBeat, a pop-up newsroom dreamed up and brought to life by the folks at Chalkbeat. Now first, what is VoteBeat? VoteBeat is a pop-up newsroom dedicated to local election administration coverage from now until the inauguration. The project is funded by philanthropy. $1 million allows us to hire up to 27 additional reporters in 9 key states. These reporters will both hold local officials accountable, but also hold the line on disinformation coming from both national and international sources. This Ignite talk is the origin story of the project. It began less than 2 months ago as they set up late-night text messages between me and Elizabeth Green, Chalkbeat's co-founder and CEO. Now, the first idea in these messages was truly a bad one. The idea was to pause Chalkbeat reporting for a month and instead focus on the mechanics of local elections. Now, for those of you who know what Chalkbeat does, you will immediately understand why this was a dumb idea. Chalkbeat is an education local news site, and our education reporters, while both brilliant and locally grounded, aren't experts on elections. We also happen to be working through the largest crisis in public education in a century. To pause reporting on this critical topic would be irresponsible, possibly immoral. But if you ignore the part where we stop education reporting and focus on the part about adding election coverage, the idea is actually kind of smart, if not stupidly simple. And after talking to a number of experts who certainly knew better than we did, we were convinced it was worthwhile to get more reporters on the ground in several key states, even as the clock ticked away toward Election Day. But to hire a corps of reporters across many states, you need one very important ingredient. You need money, and you need to find a lot of it. The lack of dollars is the reason we have these awful news deserts to begin with, and finding new sources of money that go beyond subscription and advertising is how we can address it head on. First, we created a rough proposal and shopped it around to a very small handful of major donors, looking for 1 or 2 massive gifts to make this project as simple as possible. Perhaps not surprisingly, they all said no. It would have been too easy. But spoiler alert, we persisted. We came up with a plan B. Show that this proposal, while last minute, was still doable. We assumed that if we prove doability, we could then get the money. So we did what desperate journalists do. We went to Twitter to ask for help. Now, what did we do on Twitter? We did a call to action. We wanted to show that reporters, editors, and experts were ready and willing to go. So we had them pledge their commitment to the project. And at this key moment, we turned to another important tool for maintaining democracy, Google Forms. And people showed up. We had dozens of reporters in dozens of newsrooms raise their hand in the first 12 hours, and donor interest started to trickle in. 1 month and a day after that first text, we held a Zoom donor event, and roughly 20 people joined, on a Saturday. Also, it was Rosh Hashanah. And here's the crazy thing. It worked. Dollars were transferred to us during that funding call, and 3 days later, we had raised enough money to kick this whole thing off. We onboarded a project director 2 hours after that last commitment came in, and since then, he's been working tirelessly to bring local newsroom partners in the 9 states we want to be in. Now, why these states? For some, it's a matter of local accountability in districts that have historically had problems. We're looking at you, Michigan, North Carolina, and Florida. And for others, it's planting ourselves in places that attract voter misinformation and disinformation meant to undermine elections. That's California, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. We're working with local newsrooms, mostly nonprofits, who know their local issues better than we ever could. They are responsible for hiring reporters and sometimes editors, and they must bring to the table a robust distribution network of legacy, radio, and TV partnerships. Meanwhile, the VoteBeat/Chalkbeat team is responsible for fundraising, but also gathering a network of experts to drive the most important and impactful coverage possible. This includes Electionland, but also INN, Kaiser Health News, PolitiFact, Chartbeat, Urban One, and so on. As of today, VoteBeat reporting hasn't begun, so it's not yet possible to discuss impact. But as we look forward beyond this election and past the inauguration, we see a vision of national, local news that expands beyond education and voting. At Chalkbeat, we continue to press forward with the idea that a single-subject newsroom is the best way to provide high-quality local news to our communities. Ideally, VoteBeat would not be seen as just a temporary project, but instead a breath of fresh air in a beleaguered industry and a peek into a more hopeful future for local news. Thank you.